All right, imagine you go to the grocery store to go shopping, right? You fill up your cart with some of the things you need, thinking that you're all good. And there's some signs on the plates that say, be careful, some of these foods have other interactions, or some of these might cause a cancer. This might shorten your life. A little complex to figure out, but you can go to one of our advisors here for just $100 and we'll make sure that your cart is all compatible together, right? So you're like, oh man, I thought I just was getting these pretzels, but now there's all these studies saying I might die early. So $100 is worth my life. I might as well go spend it, right? So you go, you pay the person $100, they come and they look at your cart, look it through, walk you through the store, add a few more things that you definitely need in your cart, right? You don't really understand what's going on, but you feel a little better because you got an expert looking at it. So you go to the checkout line, and the person's scanning in your items, takes your shopper's card that's special for you. No price is coming up. You're asking them like, hey, how much is this going to cost, right? I can't really tell you yet. You'll probably get a bill in 1 to 2 months from now and figure it out. Well, I mean, what's that bill going to be? Well, it's not going to be any more than $2,000. It's probably going to be around $100 to $500, depending on what your shopper's card says, right? So you leave the store. Feel a little better that you're going to be all right, but what's it going to cost you, right? That's crazy, right? I think everybody would think that would be insane, right? A common shopping trip. Well, clearly, by now you should figure out this is an analogy to our healthcare system, right? Isn't that just as crazy? I think so. So, not only that, but 20% of what we spend in our country, or 1 out of every $5, is spent on healthcare. So the largest market that we have in our country, and affecting all the people, operates in exactly this way. Why isn't that crazy? Why does the government actually support this system, and why is 20% of all our dollars going into that system? Well, price transparency, I think, is the most effective way for us to address this topic. We all talk about insurance, costs, and coverage, but the underlying issue is the actual cost. Consumers need to know how much something's going to cost to be able to compare it between different providers or determine whether they really want to make that decision for what they want to purchase. That's not the way it works today. So, I mean, imagine if we did have that choice, right? If we had that choice, you could go and determine what's most effective for you and your family. Competition would come up from other providers. New technologies would emerge that would make things more cost-effective and more valuable to the consumer. Today, that isn't supported. What if the government would actually remove some of these restrictions that we can't bring in new technologies to this industry? What if they allowed you to pay the same rate as the rest of the world, which can be literally less than 10% of your medical costs? Big effect, right? I believe that this is the most significant thing that we could do in our country to improve not only our economic situation, but each of us individually and our families' quality of life and care. So what can we do about this? Big problem, right? One, we can kind of support some of the agencies that are already operating in this way. You may have heard of the Surgery Center of Oklahoma. They publish list prices, fixed prices, for hundreds of common surgeries and operations. Support people that operate that way. Companies like Sam's Club and Costco have used their purchasing power to offer member discounts on prescription drugs that are a fraction of usually what you would pay for your health insurance. Just on one medicine alone, I saved $600 a year by using the Costco purchasing price instead of going through Aetna. But what do? You give them your insurance card when you check in, and that's what you think of, right? Watch that out. 2, go ahead and be annoying. You know, it's kind of doesn't feel too good when you're at a doctor and you're saying, well, how much is this going to cost? And they kind of make you feel like, what are you asking me, right? You need to do it. But go ahead. The more they get those questions, the more you're going to have to give some answers. And finally, politics, very hard to change, but go ahead and put pressure on people when you can. It doesn't have to be 1,000 pages of legislation, right, to address some common sense things like price transparency. So again, I think this is the #1 thing we can do for a country and for each of us individually. The biggest impact we can make, something simple. Much more effective than who can use which bathroom. Okay? So thank you for your time, and I hope that this motivates you to talk more about this issue.
Vote for Steve.
Thank you.
That was amazing. That was truly amazing.